And we are live. So I have Maryam with me. She's of Jewish religion, living in Istanbul, Turkey, and from Azerbaijan. Now, I just want to apologize real quick out of the get go. I'm gonna have to. We have some what would it be called echo issues, so I'm gonna have to mute her mic in between our dialogue, but we'll work our way through it. So thank you, Maryam, for joining me. And how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, just hanging in there on this beautiful Saturday morning. It's a little bit later where you're at. So,
It's now Sunday in Istanbul, but it's 12 a.m. and I'm here. It's good here as well.
good deal. So, first, I want to talk about kind of differences between Istanbul and Baku, or differences between Turkey and Azerbaijan. So, first about the size of the two places.
I mean, Azerbaijan is, I think, it's smaller than Istanbul itself. Turkey is a very big country with lots of minorities living in here, so they have so every person, every group in here, like Turkey changes from city to city. Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir are more like secular, but places like Sivas, Erzurum will be more religious. And it's way much more crowded, especially in Istanbul. It's one of the biggest cities in the world, one of the most with the high population. And they also have lots of refugees in here at the moment from Syria, Afghanistan, and Azerbaijan. As far as I know, they don't have any refugees. They don't like take anyone in. And I'm sorry. And they're just Baku is a very small city, but it's very modern. It's very beautiful. It's the most modern for me city in the Caucasian area, and maybe after Moscow. If we're going to talk about all of the Soviet countries, it's very secular. Azerbaijan itself, not only Baku, but the rest of the Azerbaijan is also very secular. And the main difference between Baku, if you're going to speak about the beauty, Baku has more lots of new buildings, like more like Dubai, but the rest of Azerbaijan is very green and very beautiful.
Okay, so you brought up religion. So one is Sunni and the other one is Shia. But how religious are they and how secular are the two countries?
I think 65% of Turkey is religious, 65%, and they also have Shia people living inside of Turkey, but they have a conflict. And so Turkey is, some parts of it is very religious, but some parts of Turkey is very secular. And when it comes to the government itself, it doesn't have Islam as an official religion yet, and I don't think they're going to make it anytime soon. But you will see in politics, like the president of Turkey using religion, not only the president, most of the parties now in Turkey using the religion or bringing back secularism as an ideology of the party. And they're definitely using it for their own gain. They don't really care about the religion part. I mean, Hagia Sophia is a mosque now again, so they're definitely going more to the Islamic direction, if you ask me. But Azerbaijan, it's very secular. Only 20% of Azerbaijan will be religious, if you ask me. And this is the difference. When Turkish people get religious, there are two groups. Either they keep it to themselves and they won't force it on you, just like in Azerbaijan, but one part they can get very religious and they will try to share their ideology with you. They will try to force you to convert or force you to change your religion. And there is a Jewish community, Sephardic Jews, who came from Spain during the Ottoman Empire time to Turkey. Majority of the population has left, but there is still a good community in here. And Azerbaijan is mainly populated of the Jews, of Mountain Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, and a small community of Bukhara Jews.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you on the spot now, having lived both places. Which place has better food? Like, if somebody's going to go tourism, which place is going to be the place to go if you're looking for good food?
Azerbaijan, definitely. Azerbaijan has better food, and this is the thing with the two countries. They share lots of dishes like dolma, kebab, and stuff, but they do it very differently. And for my taste, I like the Azerbaijani style more. And this is the other difference. You can't find Turkish food in Azerbaijan, but there isn't much of restaurants that I know that sell or make Azerbaijani food in Turkey.
Okay, so it's just kind of quite divided, but if people are listening, Azerbaijan does have the better food out of the two, which may offend a little bit of people, but I think, getting offended on food isn't that big of a deal. So now you are of the Jewish faith, Jewish religion. Now, living in a region which generally persecutes the Jews, like how does Azerbaijan and Turkey deal with people of the Jewish faith versus kind of rest of the Middle East?
I mean, this is the thing. In the Ottoman Empire times, Jews were known to be the most loyal minority group to the Ottoman Empire, but they were still seen as a second class, and they were still there. There was lots of killings happening to the Jews as well, and there's this whole situation with anti-Zionism rising, with Israel and Turkey. Most of the Turkish people not liking Israel, and most people not understanding that anti-Zionism sometimes can be anti-Semitism. So I feel like Jewish people are definitely getting more, like Turkish Jews are getting more offended in Istanbul when the topic comes on Israel or something like that. And in the 1960s, there was a huge killing of the Jews in here in Istanbul, and they were taking their property. It happened in the 1960s. It happened to the Jews and to the Greek community who lives here. But in Azerbaijan, there was never, not even like one thing of anti-Semitism. Azerbaijan, the only time where there was, I will say that Jews got killed in Azerbaijan was in 1917 in Guba, and that was not done by Azerbaijanis, that was done by Armenians who were coming from the Ottoman Empire and who were living in the region. So my great grandma, she came to Baku during the Second World War. She is originally from Odessa, and there were lots of Ashkenazi Jews who got saved by Azerbaijan during the Second World War. And Azerbaijan is known as a safe haven for the Jews.
Which I think is very interesting and not a lot of people know about. It's probably one of the reasons why Azerbaijan and Israel have good relations, because during World War II, during the Holocaust, it was a safe haven. It was a place the Jews could come and be safe for persecution. Now, you mentioned your grandma, kind of her story coming from Odessa to there, but I've heard similar stories like it was kind of a safe haven, people could travel there. Now, why do you believe that was the case and not the case in some of the other countries in the Middle East?
What do you mean not the case in the Middle East? Like, do you mean as them accepting the Jews as refugees or what?
So, I mean, you look at, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, like looking for like places to go that generally friendly to the Jewish community. Why was Azerbaijan more friendly than some of their neighbors?
Well, Azerbaijani people had a relationship with the Jews before the Holocaust, before the Jews were coming. The biggest community is the Mountain Jews, and I think Azerbaijani people just decided to let the others in, if you ask me, because I don't really know why they did that, but they did it, and I'm thankful for it. Actually, I know that Georgia has its own Georgian Jews as well, but I think Georgia has also accepted lots of refugees during that time, and definitely Turkey did as well. But this is the thing: you can come as a refugee. They can, save you from the Holocaust. But how are you going to be treated in that area? How are you going to be treated in that country? That's also a big aspect of it. I mean, we never experienced anti-Semitism in Azerbaijan.
And I imagine it's because Azerbaijan really isn't too religious. Like, there's a lot of people in the country that, they may claim a religion, but they don't practice, which is interesting considering a bunch of their neighbors. You have Armenia, which is a Christian state. You have Iran, which is Muslim state, and even some of the other ones. Turkey has kind of been hit and miss throughout history. But why do you think Azerbaijan is kind of a secular hub in that region?
Well, there was definitely the impact of the Soviet Union being part of the Soviet, the one-way communist or socialist regime, and there not being a lot of religious freedom. But Azerbaijan, when we got our independence from 1918 from the Russians, Azerbaijan was the first Muslim country to become secular, to give the equal rights to vote to women before Turkey, before America, before most of the European countries as well. And it's just how the society is. We were never too religious. They call us in Turkish Gılıç Altı Müslüman, which means that it's for the Muslims in Azerbaijan, that Azerbaijani people were forced to convert to Islam by the Turks when Turks came to the area. The people who were living in there, they were forced to convert, and I don't think they ever had a connection with Islam, to be honest, because there are religious people in Azerbaijan as well, but it's all about the society, and I think what the structure of the family, of the society has, like, you can be religious and try to make other people religious as well, or try to make people convert. But in Azerbaijan, even if they're religious, they won't touch you. They won't say a thing. It's your life. It's my life. Like, there is this thing with the religion in Azerbaijan, and that's the main point why there was never anti-Semitism in there, I think.
Okay. Now, how does that compare to Georgia and Armenia? Because you guys are kind of three. You guys were kind of the tri-Caucasus country in 1918 before the Soviets came in and took you over. But how does the Jewish populations between Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan look?
Okay, I'm going to firstly speak about Georgia because there's much better thoughts and things to say about them when it comes to the Jewish community in Caucasus. Georgia has its own Jews they're called the Georgian Jews, and as far as I know, there was also never any situation of anti-Semitism in Georgia as well. And Georgia and Israel currently have open borders. But Georgia is more. Azerbaijan is the most secular state between three of them, and it's definitely less anti-Semitic than if you're going to compare it. But Georgia is also never harmed its Jews. Maybe the society's way of thinking is different, but it's not like in Armenia. In Armenia, the Armenian church has formal legal. They can make formal legal actions that no other community a religious community in Armenia can. I mean, Armenia has also Kurdish people who are Muslims, but I don't know if you have seen what happened to the mosques in Armenia, especially the mosque in Karabakh. There's just cows and sheep inside of it, and Armenia has a history of anti-Semitism. They have a Nazi monument in the middle of Yerevan. That's not okay. The Holocaust part got vandalized. They wrote in Armenian "Death to the Jews." In 2004, in a national TV, one of the journalists said that a Jewish problem is something serious, that Jews are controlling the media, and tried to show us as the devil. And there's also a historic background of Christians thinking that the Jews killed Jesus, which also impacts the way the society thinks about the Jews and seeing them as a cursed nation, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, there was a 2014 article, I think it was Russia not liking Armenia putting up a statue of some Nazi, I want to say general or boss in that country. Now, recently, I've seen kind of pictures. I know it was defaced in 2004, but they have a Holocaust memorial. But I don't know if it's the whole country as a whole or just a few individuals who are kind of like that. Because I know Ukraine has a problem with some Nazi sympathizers. But yeah, that monument that was defaced, the Holocaust monument. Can you speak a little bit more towards that, the Holocaust monument in Armenia?
I mean, I mean, this is the difference between Georgia, Azerbaijan.
Whoops.
This is the difference between three of the states. Armenia had a book. It was a book, and they were selling it. And inside the book, it was said that Holocaust never happened, and that Holocaust was idea of the Jews to create the state of Israel. And Armenia has anti-Semitism. They had anti-Semitism even during the Ottoman Empire times. They believed that Jews were getting little Armenian children and were killing them for Passover. They had this weird theories about us as a nation. And I don't know how anti-Semitic truly Yerevan is, but I checked this TripAdvisor, and just an Israeli was asking, is it safe for me to come to Yerevan? Because, you know, the Holocaust park got vandalized. There's a Nazi monument, and Armenia is number 2 in anti-Semitism when it comes to the countries in Asia. I mean, and he was just wondering, and then I read all of the comments. All of the Armenians are being like, yes, come, of course, we just have a little joke over who's more smarter, who's more ancient, but sure, come over. And then there's just this one Jewish guy commenting, don't come, they definitely do not like us here. You will be cursed. When you say you're Jewish, you will be asked how rich you are. You will be seen as a person who has lots of control. And then Armenians were just like arguing with the Jewish person who was trying to tell his opinion of his visit in Yerevan. So unless you visit there, you will never know. But Armenia had I mean, like, I'm telling you this, in 1917, when they came to Buba, they killed most of the Jews in there. Why? No reason at all. And there's also this big situation of the Armenian Jewish population there's only 100 Jews left in Armenia, and Armenia used to have not as big as Azerbaijan, but used to have a good population of the Jews during the Soviet times. But now it's only 100 people left. So the question that they should be asking, why are the Jews leaving us? Why are they leaving? Because the Jews no longer want to live there.
Now, do you think that'll change under Pashinyan being the prime minister and some of his reforms there in Armenia?
What?
Oh.
I didn't get it.
Okay, do you think that'll change with Pashinyan being the prime minister?
Your microphone is not working well. I don't hear what you're saying.
Okay. So, do you think that'll change with Pashinyan being the prime minister?
Well, Pashinyan, I mean, this is the thing in politics. There was a few nationalistic parties. Even one of them had the name Aryan race or something like that. Definitely, there wasn't much of the anti-Semitism, but the anti-Semitism in Armenia occurs in the society and the people, just like Turkey. If you check the Turkish law, there's nothing against the Jews. There's nothing against the group. But first of all, in Armenia, they give a green light for the church to do anything. But I mean, it's not a secular state if you're involving church in your politics, first of all. Second of all, the Jews are leaving Armenia, and I don't think Pashinyan is going to be able to suddenly change the nation's thoughts on the Jews, especially with a Christian religion who some people believe that Jews have killed their prophet. I mean, I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Okay. Well, I think we can both hope for change on that front. It's anti-Semitism isn't something that should be allowed in today's society. Like, I don't like the idea of anti-Semitism, whether it's in the Ukraine, whether it's in the United States, whether it's anywhere else in the world. It's something that should end. Now, one interesting thing, and there was a comment brought up earlier in the chat, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. So it's from Varun Nambiar. It says, I'm wondering if you'll be able to entertain my question. How is the deterioration of relations between Israel and Turkey likely to impact Azerbaijan's strategic calculations and its ties to both?
And okay, so I think people have a wrong like wrong image about Azerbaijan and Turkey's relationship. Azerbaijan and Turkey don't follow the same politics. They don't follow the reason why those countries are so close is because they're both a Turkic nation, and literally that's it. The people are very different. The culture is a bit different. And Azerbaijan has a very good relationship with Pakistan as well, and Israel. Pakistan doesn't acknowledge Israel as a country. So Turkey is not going to really affect it. And if it was going to affect it, it would be done a lot much sooner than now, if you ask me. And again, the most obvious reason of Azerbaijan and Israel's good relationship is the Azerbaijan not being anti-Semitic, and Israel is not a country that's going to say, hey, you have a good relationship with Turkey or with Pakistan, I'm leaving you, or anything like that. And Turkey is not going to interfere with the relationship of Israel and Azerbaijan. They don't have any authority over that, so nothing is going to change.
Okay, now Azerbaijan's really interesting because they have good relations with Russia, good relations with Turkey, good relations with Pakistan, good relations with Israel, decent relations with Iran. Really, their only beef is with Azerbaijan. I mean, not Azerbaijan, Armenia. And so, is that something that's viewed as, like, from your viewpoint, a good thing as far as, like, the relationships abroad with Azerbaijan?
I didn't get the last part, the microphone.
Okay, so yeah, just the fact that Azerbaijan gets along at least decently to good with all its neighbors except for Armenia. And so is that kind of the goal and vision from your viewpoint of the Azerbaijan foreign policy?
I don't think Azerbaijan wants to have a bad relationship with Armenia, to be honest. Azerbaijan just wants the occupation to end. This land has been occupied for 27 years, 20% of the land. Imagine United States or Turkey or like Russia getting occupied for 27 years of a percentage of 20%. They did the Madrid Principle in 2007. Armenia was the one who backed out. We are trying to build a relationship, but for a relationship to be built, they have to stop occupying Karabakh, and they have to somehow agree with us, because Pashinyan's peace offers, we have seen them, they're in this format. Azerbaijan has to do this. Azerbaijan has to recognize Nagorno-Karabakh as a state. If Azerbaijan recognizes that, the whole conflict will blow up and Armenia will recognize it, and then we won't have, like, our authority over the land is going to lose. Like, he's playing two sides. He's trying to be sneaky. He's trying to make Azerbaijan first recognize it, and then he's going to take it over the United Nations and be like, hey, these guys just gave up. So I don't think Pashinyan wants a good relationship with Azerbaijan. He's trying to be more sneaky, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a politician. He's a former journalist who was jailed a few times, and he's coming at it kind of from a different angle than what both sides are kind of used to, because both sides were former Soviet republics and, you know, had good relations with the Soviet Union, and then now with modern day Russia. But Pashinyan seems to be reaching out to the West more. Seems to be reaching out. I know he got a lot of money from Germany and the European Union. How do you think that getting of that money from the European Union reaching out to the West is going to affect the relationship between Azerbaijan and Armenia?
This is
Oh, I think we just...
there's still one way or another kind of have to have a good relationship with Russia. We saw what happened in Georgia. We saw what happened in Ukraine. So Armenia is actually just pulling its trigger time over time with going to the West, asking for help. They asked help from Russia. Russia refused them because Russia is playing more of a in two games. And they can go to European Union. They can do whatever they want. We don't care. Like, we literally don't care, unless if you're not harming us, or unless it has to do with Karabakh policy. If you're getting money from them, that's fine for us. And it's going to be even more better for us if their relationship with Russia is going to just go bad. It's going to benefit us. not harm us in any other way, because we already have a good relationship with the West. So it's all on them.
Now, okay, so speaking of Nagorno-Karabakh, what were some of the issues on the 1991 agreement with the Nagorno-Karabakh and the 7 regions around Nagorno-Karabakh that were supposed to be Azerbaijani land but are currently occupied by Armenia?
There is this situation, the whole, like when both countries got their independence in 1918, they both sat down and they were speaking about the territories and about their what area belongs to who, how they should do it. And Soviet Union, they didn't give Karabakh to Azerbaijan. Karabakh was a part of Azerbaijan, and they decided for Azerbaijan for Karabakh to stay a part of it, to not leave, to not go to Armenia. All 3 states, Armenia agreed on this. Armenia said, I'm fine with it. Armenia agreed on Karabakh being a part of Azerbaijan. It was not given away from one land to another. It was always a part of Azerbaijan. And then what happened in 1986 with the referendum, this is the issue. Karabakh used to be an autonomous state in the Soviet Union that was under Azerbaijan. They had their own parliament, their own legislative procedure and all of that. And with the referendum, they didn't let Azerbaijani MPs know, or any Azerbaijani people. And in one day, without notifying anyone, they decided to have a referendum with only Armenian people. I mean, that's not democratic, is it? And a day later, the Soviet Union and Azerbaijan as well, they didn't acknowledge this. They didn't see it as a referendum, and Azerbaijan told them, let's bring people, Azerbaijani people who used to live in Karabakh, and let's have it again. They're just denying the whole thing. So that referendum was illegal, and they keep using that referendum as a self-determination of Nagorno-Karabakh. How can it be self-determination of Nagorno-Karabakh if the Azerbaijani people who lived in it didn't even know that there was a referendum going on?
Yeah, and then afterwards they kicked them all out, and then they want to be autonomous. Yeah, like the Soviet Union was really bad in some of its implementations of procedures, implementation of governments, drawing of borders. Like they messed up an incredibly lot of things for relatively a short period where they had control over these territories. Now, what kind of changed that relationship between Azerbaijan and the Soviet Union, or modern day Russia? Because the Soviet Union seemed to always favor Armenia other than a few circumstances. So what changed? How did that relationship between Azerbaijan and Russia change?
I mean, they did definitely favor the Russian side when the war happened, when Armenia attacked Azerbaijan in 1991. Definitely, Russia was more on Armenia's side, but this is the thing that most people don't get. Russia is not only the president, there are also the Armenian lobby that is inside of Russia, which is very powerful. I mean, it's pretty obvious on why they favored them, but now with Pashinyan, especially being the president, the favor game is definitely changing. And with Turkey and Russia trying to have a better relationship, and with the gas pipeline project that those countries are doing, I mean, Russia could have said that I have a bad relationship with Georgia. I know that Azerbaijan and Armenia have a problem, but just get over it. He didn't do that. There's a reason for it. And Armenia's economy is very bad. I think if there wasn't a conflict and if they were involved in the gas pipeline project, it would definitely help them. So, yeah, and I see with the people of Russian and Azerbaijani and Armenian people, I don't see much of a difference, but when it comes to politics, Russia is just playing now 2 games. They want to keep Armenia to have a better relationship with Russia than the West, and the same applies to Azerbaijan, and Karabakh is a perfect way for them to use it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I think a lot of the work the Russians are doing abroad and internationally is absolutely abhorrent. They kind of serve their self-interest, but Russia's kind of heading to a point a little bit kind of like Turkey where they're going to collapse. Yeah, the Turkish economy, like the lira is dropping in price, and now hopefully Turkey can turn it around. But I kind of hope that Russia will crash. Is that kind of the same viewpoint in Azerbaijan, hoping that Russia will kind of lose its influence, lose its power? Or would you like a functioning Russian state?
I will prefer Russia being more. Okay, so this is the thing with Azerbaijan. It's going to be either Iran or Russia, because Iran also wants. Iran sees Azerbaijan also wants to have some influence over Azerbaijan, and with Russians being in there, Persians don't, Iranians they can't really interfere. And I don't think that Russia's economy collapsing is going to take away their influence, because Russia had a horrible moment in 2000 when Boris Yeltsin was the president before Putin came, and he did kind of some economic reforms. They were in a very bad state, but not a lot has changed, and it's not going to change even if Russia's economy collapses. And with Turkey, I think Turkish economy is bad at the moment, and it's going to stay like this for a while. But again, I don't think Turkish economy collapsing as well is going to change anything with their relationship with Armenia or Azerbaijan or Russia.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. They have certain things that they're going to go through. Now, after Turkey, Russia, and Iran, why doesn't the rest of the world care as much about this conflict? Because I'd argue that they should, but why, in your viewpoint, does the rest of the world not have more information on this conflict?
I don't think rest of the world really knows what happened to the post-Soviet states or what really happened inside of the Soviet Union and how people lived, because it was always a closed community. And this is the thing. If most people didn't even know Azerbaijan until a few years ago, until Azerbaijan became more popular, Armenian lobby did a very good job on showing their point of view on the conflict and on what Armenian genocide is and all of that. But Azerbaijani people, they're also now doing their part. But I mean, even the foreigners, if they know Azerbaijan, they don't know what Azerbaijan is, they don't know who they are, they don't know the history. And if you don't know one country, you're not going to know the conflict that they are having with Armenians. So I think that's one of the reasons, and probably the second reason is that like the clash that happened in Tovuz, one state is blaming the other state is blaming the other, and there isn't really, you don't really know what's happening. So I think that's also one of the reasons why people don't care, because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, they're probably not going to know what's going on. But I view this as kind of a powder keg scenario, because if this does kick off into a war, Turkey comes in and then Greece comes in. So then you have a Greek Turkic conflict, which puts NATO and the West in jeopardy. But you also have Israel on the side of Azerbaijan. But then you have Lebanon. Iran is an interesting one. We'll talk about Iran in a little bit because I don't know which direction they would go. But Iran, Syria is kind of a weakened state, but they would support Armenia as well. But then you have kind of the other dominoes. India also supports Armenia because Pakistan supports Azerbaijan. And of course, we know that Kashmir conflict any day now is another powder keg conflict. So, like, this conflict, even though it's little, Azerbaijan, little Armenia, can result into a global conflict. So I think more people should care. Now, there was something interesting about the situation that happened in Lebanon, and I know you commented on it on Twitter, but as far as Karabakh wanting more Lebanon refugees, can you speak a little bit to more why that's kind of a bad idea as far as refugees from Lebanon coming into Karabakh?
This is the thing. Karabakh is illegally occupied, and Azerbaijani people who are from Karabakh they cannot visit it. Me as an Azerbaijani, I will not be able to drive to Karabakh and go and visit it. So refugees are okay. Like, so how does the system work for Armenia? Armenian people can live in Karabakh. The refugees can live in Karabakh. Everyone can live in Karabakh except of the Azerbaijani people. And it's not the Lebanese refugees. They made it very simple, very clear that they want the Armenians who suffered in the attack, not the other people, just Armenians. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get them, place them to Karabakh and show the population a lot bigger and try to draw more attention and try to say that, hey, look how many Armenians are living in here. That's what they're trying to do. And I don't think that what happened in Beirut should be used like this. What happened was tragic, and you should not use it for your own political gain. Azerbaijan has given, as far as I know, lots of money to Lebanon right now. Turkey is also helping a lot right now. But Armenia is just like, hey, bring me back my Armenians and let me put them in Karabakh so I can show my Armenian population a lot more, which is not okay.
So they're using kind of this tragedy in Lebanon to bring Armenians back into Karabakh that were living in Lebanon at the time. I know we had kind of a disagreement on this as far as a little bit, just kind of over a Twitter conversation. Like, I see the situation in Beirut where they had it like the people need to get out for a public health standpoint because it's going to be a little while before the air is clean enough to breathe. But I kind of get where you're coming from. Like, if you can take the refugees that are moving out of this area for the public health aspect and put them into Yerevan, put them into some of those territories, but put them into disputed conflict, it's kind of more of a political move in that aspect. As far as, we're going to put them there so that way, if Azerbaijan does go in, then they're attacking Lebanon refugees. It is a political move, but there has to be some place where these refugees are coming from. This public health crisis is going to be caused by the explosion of Lebanon should go. Now, I imagine you would support them going to Yerevan. Is that correct?
Of course. Like, we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem of them going back to Armenia. That's not our issue. Our issue is that Armenia is occupying a land for 27 years. No, literally most of the people do not care or do not know anything about this. And then they also want to bring the refugees from Lebanon, the Armenian refugees specifically, for their own political gain. This is ugly. This is not how this unfortunate event should be used. This is just ugly in my opinion. And Armenia doesn't have a big population. I mean, you can easily let those refugees live in Yerevan or in another Armenian city. And Karabakh is not even Armenian, it's Azerbaijani. Who gives Armenia the right to bring refugees to the territory of Azerbaijan? I think that's even illegal. They did it as well with the Syrian refugees, Syrian people who are ethnically Armenian. They took them from Syria, they brought them Karabakh to fight another war. How is this okay? And no one is speaking about this.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's speaking about it because they saw the video of what happened in Beirut, and that was absolutely awful seeing that. And there are protests to this day going on in Lebanon. Lebanon's kind of a hot spot, but we're not going to get too much into Lebanon here because that's about to pop there in Lebanon, which Israel. Now, do you think if Lebanon goes after Israel, Azerbaijan would help out Israel on that front?
If Israel will ask for help, I think there will be help from Azerbaijan. But Israel, all of these conflicts that they had a war in 2006 as well. They never asked Azerbaijan's help. If they will want it, Azerbaijan will give them something, but they don't need it, in my opinion. They have America behind them as well. So I think Israel is not a weak state. Israel is very strong. It survived so many wars. I mean, wars, and I don't think they will need the help, but if they will ask for it, Azerbaijan will be in the game for sure, but I don't think that will happen.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting situation to watch, but I think we'll kind of move on a little bit and talk about Turkey and Armenia a little bit. in regards to Nagorno-Karabakh a little bit. So after the Armenian Genocide in 1915, Armenians had a couple of groups, and one of them was designated as a terrorist by the world, Asala. And they also had JCAG and Arar, where there were attacks in Turkey from Armenia, which, they thought they got genocided. I believe that they did get genocided and they were kind of fighting back against the Turkish state. But how prevalent do you think that some of these groups from Armenia are today versus where they were in the 80s and 90s?
This is the thing, yeah. When you look at the history of what has happened in 1915 in the Ottoman Empire, Armenians did suffer. They got killed. No one is denying that. The Turkish state is not denying that. What you're trying to say is that there is a reason for it. There is a reason that Armenians have also killed the Turks in 1915 because of and that area that you're speaking about was no longer under Turkish control. It was under Kurdish control. It was a conflict. If you ask me, it's a conflict between Kurds, Armenians, and Turkish people, and Azerbaijan should not be involved because it was never involved. But Azerbaijan will definitely be in Turkey's side if something like that happens. But it's a conflict between those three nations. They have to sort what happened. They have to sort out what happened, and Turkey is all in the game. Erdogan said to Armenia, "Come here. Let's look at the historical facts. Let's look at everything, and let's make a fact of what happened together. Let's work on this together." Armenia refused it because what Armenia is trying to do is they're trying to use this genocide, even in Karabakh conflict, to show themselves as victims, which is a very, very, again, dirty politics for me. Because what did happen to three of these nations that time was horrible. And when you come to Asala, there was a guy wearing Asala shirt in the protest of Los Angeles, and especially with what happened of Azerbaijanis getting beat up in Los Angeles, in Belgium, Armenians and Azerbaijanis had a clash in Moscow as well. There's definitely going to be like Asala coming back. But you see, there's also the ideology that Asala had behind of it, and that's not gone. The Armenian supremacy, it's not gone. Some Armenians believe that they are superior than the other races who live next to them, which is just fascism. They think that they're better than the Azerbaijanis. They think they're better than the Georgians, definitely better than the Turkish people. And this is one of the ideologies that Asala and all of these terrorist groups have. We will take back our lands, we will get our revenge, and we will build the great Armenian Empire. That's not okay with anyone in the world, because Great Armenian Empire means land from Syria, Iran, Turkey, and this Armenian supremacy, them thinking that they're better than anyone else, kind of reminds me of a political point of view we had in the 1930s from 1930s to 1940s. That's who they're reminding me of, and I'm not going to even say their name.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing because I've seen some quotes of kind of Greater Armenia throughout that, and there were kind of, like I said, they were designated terrorists. Asala was designated terrorists. They were striking back at the Turkish government, performing acts. There were a lot of events and acts and attacks from different things, and they view it as kind of a viewpoint of, you committed genocide against us, so we're going to strike back here. But it seemed to die down the last couple of years. Do you believe that there's going to be a resurgence in kind of the Turkish versus kind of like the Armenian nationalists here in the near future?
It's going to be hard to guess, not anytime soon, if you ask me, because we also have the situation with Corona going on everywhere. So not everyone can travel, and I don't know how long this is going to last. But there is no clash between the Turkish people and the Armenian people who live in Istanbul. There is nothing going on between them. They're neighbors, they're friends, they have marriages. As people, I don't think something is going to come up, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. Asala might be gone, but the ideology behind it is the reason why Karabakh is still occupied. It's the reason why the Azerbaijanis in Los Angeles got attacked. It's the reason why when you log into Twitter and you post a picture in Baku or something, you might get a nasty comment from an Armenian person. I mean, the Asala might be gone for now, but it can come back anytime soon, especially after the clash in Tovuz area in Azerbaijan.
Okay, so yeah, there's always dangers, even if Nazi Germany coming back, or even the Nazi people in Ukraine. Like, there's always that anti-Semitism, that danger of it coming back. Now, you brought up coronavirus. What's the difference in response between Azerbaijan and Turkey as far as the coronavirus pandemic that's going on?
In Turkey, there's, I think, a second wave is starting, but Turkey has, in my own point of view, Turkey has dealt with the situation very well the first times. They opened everything back, and the healthcare system in Turkey is very, very good. But in Azerbaijan, the healthcare system is worse. But Azerbaijan has a very strict regime. Okay. Azerbaijan has a very strict regime of the pandemic of the corona. Like, if you want to leave your house, you have to text the government and you have to get their permission. And you do not always get one. So Azerbaijan is definitely having a war towards corona. And then you look at the United Kingdom, and then you look at America. As far as the United Kingdom doesn't have any restrictions. You can go, you can travel. The same thing in Turkey. There's no restrictions. You can go, you can travel, you can do whatever you want. And that's the reason why there is a second wave happening. But Azerbaijan is definitely getting a lot better on this.
Yeah, they seem to going to a little bit more of draconian measures where, texting the government. I know that was the case on Cyprus too, when it eventually had to open up. But yeah, for the first part, you had to text the government before you went to those places. You have to wear a mask everywhere you have to go. But it is one of those things, like, this coronavirus pandemic has kind of changed a lot. And it's just interesting to hear the perspective between the two countries and the way they're kind of handling it. Now, with Turkey, do you think there's any potential for Turkish involvement in the conflict between Nagorno-Karabakh?
I don't think Turkey will be ever involved unless they try to attack Nakhchivan or any other parts of Azerbaijan that they claim to be a part of Great Armenia. I don't think it's going to happen. There is I don't know what it's exactly called, but there are Turkish soldiers in Nakhchivan just teaching Azerbaijani soldiers like there's something going on, but it's not there as a military base or something. They're just practicing or like doing something together. I don't even know how to call it, but Turkey won't be involved unless they really, really try to attack Azerbaijan like they did in '91.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I got too. Like, unless they attack Nakhchivan, I don't think Turkey's going to be involved other than selling arms back and forth, because they're kind of stretched thin. They're in Libya, they're in Syria as well, and they also have the conflict internally with the Kurds, so they're kind of stretched a little bit thin. Now, in 2016, you guys were able to take some land from Armenia in that conflict, won that conflict. Is there going to be potential for a second conflict here shortly where you guys have kind of taken the gateway to Nagorno-Karabakh from the Armenians? Is there going to be potential for this to actually blow up into a hot war in the next few years or so?
Azerbaijan doesn't want to have a war with Armenia. Azerbaijan doesn't want to have a war. Azerbaijan doesn't want to go and lose more soldiers over this. And I don't think in this recent time, like this year, I don't think it's going to happen, because what happened in Tovuz was just horrible, and the government definitely doesn't want a war. I mean, we have been occupied for 27 years and we never tried to attack them. What happened in 2016 was again them attacking us. they were the one who broke the ceasefire back then as well. If they will try to get more, there will be an attack back from Azerbaijan, just like from any other country. But Azerbaijan is trying to obey the international law with this and try to do it with some principles, do it with the favor of Armenia as well, because we are accepting Nagorno-Karabakh to be autonomous. We're okay with that. We understand that Armenians have lived there for a couple of years now, and we're trying to be a lot more democratic than Armenia is showing us in this conflict. But I don't think a war is going to happen. Yes, it's true that people want something back, but I mean, it will happen in every country when your land gets occupied for 27 years and when you cannot visit your home. But no, I don't see a war happening. Probably the best solution that we believe in is to solve it with international law. But the international law community, the UN, they made 4 resolutions and nothing is happening. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of the problems with the UN is they don't have a lot of teeth. Now, I think you brought up a good point saying, Nagorno-Karabakh can be its own autonomous region, but the 7 regions around Nagorno-Karabakh that are Azerbaijani land, those have to go back to Azerbaijan. Is that a correct position from your viewpoint?
I mean, Nagorno-Karabakh to be autonomous, I mean in a way that it will be still a part of Azerbaijan, but there will be Armenians living there. The parliament, they will have their own parliament, 50% Armenian, 50% Azerbaijan, and maybe a third party, maybe like UN or some not a country, because countries can favor one part or another, but a community that's going to make sure that everything is okay there and that both sides are not attacking each other. That's the most logical solution we can get from this. But that's kind of similar what Madrid Principle was all about, but Armenia doesn't want that. Armenia wants Nagorno-Karabakh to be a little Armenia, to be I don't even know what exactly they want, because when you talk with them, we're speaking about Karabakh, and they will say that no, Karabakh is independent, it's its own country. And some will say that Karabakh is a part of Armenia. So I think they're very confused on what they want, and they should figure that out. And then let's come and let's have some peace talks, because this conflict, yes, it's true that Azerbaijan, like the Azerbaijani people, suffer a lot, and the government as well, because of our situation with Karabakh. But we're doing okay with the rest of the world. We are doing better financially. We have lots of resources. Our economy is doing good. Armenia is not doing that well. Maybe if there wasn't this conflict, and maybe if Armenia would take a part in the gas pipeline project, maybe they would be better.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Like, I think ultimately it's in the both countries and even with Georgia's kind of best interest to kick Russia out of the region, because I think both countries could benefit immensely for not having this conflict. Now, a country we brought up earlier and I said we'd get back to, and I kind of want to get back to now, is Iran. Now, which side do you think Iran is going to be if this conflict blows up?
This is the thing with Iran. Israel being involved in this makes it impossible for Iran to favor Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan doesn't want to lose its relationship with Israel. Azerbaijan favors, in my own point of view, maybe I'm being biased for being Jewish, but Azerbaijan definitely favors Israel a lot more than Iran. And Iran can't openly support Armenia or send soldiers or send weapons openly because of the population, because people in Tabriz and other regions, the Azerbaijani people, they will not accept this. And then they will have a conflict between the Azerbaijanis in Iran and then maybe with Armenians and the Iranians who live there. So Iran will never openly support Armenia. They will never give weapons or send soldiers or anything like that. But because of this situation with Israel and their conflict, they will also never take part openly with Azerbaijan and be with the same section as Israel.
See, I find that very interesting. It's probably one of the first times Iran's going to be neutral in the Middle East because they're normally on one side. They're kind of in a cold war with Saudi Arabia as well, but this conflict kind of makes them neutral. Now, you spoke to about the Azerbaijanis in Iran. There are more Azerbaijanis in Iran than there are in Azerbaijan by like 8 million people, and most of them live in that northern region. And you think if this conflict blew up, do you think Iran would have kind of a civil war problem on their hands?
You mean a civil war in Iran? Because, like, with I didn't get what you said because your voice was going and then coming back.
So Iran has more Azerbaijanis in their country than there are in the country of Azerbaijan. So if this conflict kicked off and it was a hot conflict between both sides, do you think that would result in a civil war in Iran?
Okay, I heard a little bit, so I'm just going to assume. I don't think it's going to lead Iran to have a civil war with the Azerbaijanis and maybe the Persians who want to support Armenia, or with the Armenians who live in Iran, because this is the thing. Iran knows it very well that Azerbaijani people in Iran care about Karabakh. They care about Azerbaijan. They identify themselves as Azerbaijani. So I don't think Iran will ever risk something like that. And yeah, I don't think that will ever happen.
Okay. So I used to have a few questions from the Armenian side of things for you. So there is some people that are out there that have kind of memes of kind of a greater Turkey or greater Azerbaijan, one united country of Turks. Is that the case from either the Turkish side or the Armenian side?
They're speaking about Turan, and Turan is one Turkic state where all Turkic nations live together. And no, I don't think. I mean, Turan can be as a union, but it's very hard to bring all of the Turkic people in under one state. And Azerbaijan doesn't have an idea of greater Azerbaijan or anything like that. That's their comeback to greater Armenia. We were not. They were the ones who came and occupied us in '91. I mean, we never even tried to occupy Yerevan or something like that. When they say that Baku is an old Armenian, city, that Baku oil is Armenian oil, that Nakhchivan should be a part of Armenia, of course people are going to do a comeback and tell that, hey, if you want that, give me Yerevan. How do you feel now? I mean, it's just a comeback, and I don't think Armenian people should take this very seriously. I know they do because their ideology is stuck on their head and it's not going over with the ideology of Greater Armenia. But Greater Armenia is a threat to Azerbaijan, but Greater Azerbaijan is not a threat to Armenia because Azerbaijan never openly occupied Armenia like Armenia occupied Azerbaijan in Karabakh. Like, we never sent our soldiers the whole time to any other parts of Armenia, while Armenia was the one in 1986 who started the
So the second point kind of want to make is, there is some sentiment from the Armenian side about a second Armenian genocide, that either Azerbaijan or Turkey want to go in and try to genocide the Armenians for the second time. Is that true or is that false?
I think I know what you're talking about. There is this video of Erdogan saying that he he will do what is necessary to protect Karabakh, and he will do what his ancestors did. But he doesn't mean it as an Armenian genocide in any other way. He means this as the ancestors, Turkish people who protected Azerbaijanis from the Soviet Union, from the Armenians, and all of that. That's what that guy was trying to say. And they really changed, you can really twist around with people's words, and that's what happened. Turkey doesn't recognize Armenian genocide, so Turkey will never openly say that they're going to make a second one. And secondly, as far as I know, Azerbaijani people, yes, there was problems that happened, but that happened because Azerbaijani people were deported from Armenia in a very uncivilized way.
Okay.
Country attacked another country, hurt its minorities. I mean, you know, Azerbaijan has a great relationship with its Jewish community.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it does have a good relationship with their Jewish community. It's just one of the thoughts of kind of the diaspora of Armenia and even some of the Armenians living in Armenia is like this conflict is going to result into a second genocide, which for their history is one of the worst events that ever happened in the history of Armenia. Now, the third point is, was Artsakh always Armenia, or was Nagorno-Karabakh always part of Azerbaijan?
I didn't hear anything at all. Like
Okay.
there's some kind of a problem. I don't hear anything.
Okay, so was Artsakh always a part of Armenia? This kind of thing. It's always been part of Armenia.
Artsakh, the name that they call it, Karabakh, to be always part of Armenia. Is that what you're trying to ask me?
Yes, it is.
I mean, this is the thing. Even when you watch the Minsk conference that Pashinyan and Aliyev had, Pashinyan himself said that let's not bring ancient history, let's not talk about history, let's talk about what's happening right now. Bringing history in that region is very unlogical because property, like the land ownership of Karabakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, changed with times over time. It got changed, it got Turkified. At one point it was, according to even Armenian history that they have with their kings and stuff, it only was a part of the Armenian Empire for 10 years, and that's it. That's it. And that area never belonged to them again. It was, I mean, even when those countries got their independence, Armenia agreed on keeping it as an autonomous republic in Azerbaijan because Azerbaijani people have, I mean, it was never like it was theirs according to them for one part of the history, but that's not how the world really works. I mean, Istanbul used to be a Greek city, but it's not anymore. Imagine Greeks coming to Turks and being like, you know, Constantinople, give that back. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I imagine that's it's a big point between Greeks and Turks there with Constantinople and Istanbul. So, is there anything we haven't covered that you feel that we should cover in these topics today?
I'm having
It kind of appears that we've had some internet issues here.
I'm having a problem.
Okay, so I was just going to ask, is there anything that we haven't covered that you feel that we should cover here on this stream?
What on history?
Oh, just anything throughout the history or anything that we haven't covered that you think we should cover here before we close out.
What do I think, or why? Because I
Yeah.
can't hear you properly.
Yeah, just any.
Sorry.
It's all right. Just any closing like remarks or statements or anything that we haven't covered that you feel that we should cover.
I think that this whole conflict, it's not going away unless Armenian supremacy, Armenian pan-Armenianism is going to end. What they're doing and what they want, it's not going to work, especially with their neighbor countries. And even like if you want to call Nagorno-Karabakh Artsakh, which they're not legally allowed to in conferences and stuff, that's also a Turkic word. So it makes the whole conflict seem a little bit funny with calling Artsakh or Nagorno-Karabakh as Turkic, as Armenian land. And I don't really have anything else to say.
Okay, well, I just want to thank you for joining me today and giving your thoughts on the conflict, especially from your unique perspective that I don't think a lot of people know about. And just for anybody out there, I am interested in talking to either Armenians or Azerbaijans about this conflict, 'cause I think more people need to know about it, because if this conflict does kick off, it could kick off in a way that could cause a third world war. So, like I said, thank you again for joining me. And to everybody out there, you have a good rest of your Saturday or Sunday, depending on where you're watching. So have a good day or good night.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being interested in the conflict.